about connection, just from observing, is that you have to be connected with yourself in order to get connected with people around you.
I agree, because it also comes down to loving yourself.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't love yourself, then why would anybody else want to love you?
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I discovered with moving, is that whole, like, in Texas, sure, I love myself, I love everybody loves me.
You were confident about yourself.
Yeah, very confident. And I'm not sure why the move suddenly made it that I wasn't confident anymore. And it could be just because stuff changes and it was a whole new
You're probably
area
discovering a new part of yourself, and
I agree.
you said before it feels like a 12 and 13-year-old part of you.
I think
very much.
yes,
like you feel
yes,
like a 12.
yes.
I'm guessing that's what happened, because it's actually a safe place for that to happen now. Because some of your other areas in life are secure in ways that you don't even think about right now.
Because I was. I don't think I'm in there anymore, but I was in that 12 and 13 mentality, which actually stems back to the move from Pennsylvania and
I know it triggered it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's probably
because it's once again a loss of connection, a loss of like security, and going through that whole thing. It's interesting.
Wait, but you said you don't feel like you're in that anymore. Do you feel like you grew out of it?
Okay. What do you mean grew out of it? As in,
like processing.
I think I did.
That is amazing.
I think
it's probably when you talked about it and realized that that's what happened, and then embraced it.
Yep. And I was okay with it.
You were vulnerable with it, so you connect. Oh my goodness.
I think because I feel okay, especially. I'm not sure why my 20th birthday had a whole thing, but especially after that, all of a sudden I was like, I think I'm okay now. Like there's still some little pieces that are coming along, but it was suddenly that switch, and I was like, I'm okay now.
That's interesting.
So I don't know if it was because of the birthday, or was it because
maybe God decided it's a good time.
It's a good time to shift everything for me, which I love. I just love the fact that I get to talk to you, because when I talk, I process a lot. And so that's one of the great things, is I can talk about it, we bring it up, and you like say something, and then we like forget about it, and it just like bothers me in the back of my mind for a long time. Not in a bad way, it's just it kind of sits there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of it. And I've become more aware of what's going on instead of just like shutting down.
Even with the 12, 13-year-old deal, probably when you're aware of it and you were doing life, all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm acting like a 12, 13-year-old, but I'm supposed to embrace it and flow with it. And so that thing was just kind of in the back of your head, guiding you, and
instead of
insisting you in remembering to embrace it.
Right, because what would happen before is I would catch myself acting mature and go, stupid, idiot, that's dumb, don't do that again, and be like that type of thing. Whereas when I realized, cool, I should embrace this, it became much more of a, hey, this is the season you're in, that probably wasn't the right idea, make a better one next time, but you know what, you're loved, you're accepted, you're fine, you'll get through it. And it's just like
you're talking about, there's such a huge difference in the attitude.
Is it really?
Between the two ideas, like, you stupid idiot.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah, you're okay. It just is inviting you to grow up.
It is. And instead of me smashing that right away and beating myself up for having that immature thing, it was more like, you could make a better decision, but it was okay in the moment. And
I wonder, so like, the whole thing with going through adolescence and stuff like that, everybody talks about how it's so dramatic and such a stressful time, and the most, like, those years are just a lot.
Yes.
And I never experienced that. Like,
really?
I always, going through there, I just always thought I was old enough to do the stuff that other people were, and I was like, I always wanted to hang out with the older people.
Right, you were the person that invited yourself to the private meetings.
Yeah. And I would leave my friends behind playing with the young children, and I always felt bad, and I felt so torn because I wanted to be with my friends, but I really wanted to be with the older people because I felt old.
Right.
And so I wonder if that's... Okay, anyways, what were we talking about? Why it was easy for me to adjust is because I always kind of loved myself. It was just sort of a gift, I guess.
That is a big gift, honey. Be happy you got that.
If anything, there for a while, I thought that I should hate myself because everybody else did. Everybody else hated themselves and didn't like themselves and was having a hard time but I always was like, I mean, I got this. I was very confident.
That's
And
interesting.
so there for a while I was like going through this phase, like I need to not like myself. I need to feel like I look ugly. I need to do this because that's proud if I love myself and I'm confident. That's proud. And then I kind of quit that because I was like, that's stupid. False humility is just as bad as pride. I mean, it basically is pride because it's
saying you're something other than
what God says I am. So I wonder if that's what got me through those years just fine. Like if anything, I would have experienced that when I was 17, going on 18.
Oh, interesting.
Because I really did not want to be 18. It was just too old. But
that's interesting. And I wonder, see, I think most of the struggle in the adolescent years is from finding out who you are and what to do about yourself and how, just finding out where you stand on a lot of things. And I
had an amazing childhood, so I had no issues.
Yeah.
I had issues, but none of those.
Right, it was other things.
Definitely other things like victim. I was such a wuss. It was bad, really bad. But one day that, my family worked on getting me to stop being such a wuss and so pitiful and just like a victim. I was a victim to everything. Why can't I be with the older people? And I would cry and cry, and then I would get so mad. And then I would cry and cry.
You'd flip between the victim and the predator.
Yeah, and that was my problem. Believing in knowing who I am, that never really. I mean, in some ways that was a problem. But knowing who, Gibbs, listen, you have to be very, very quiet. I'm still learning about who I am, and I still sometimes feel so almost outside of my body, just being like, who really am I?
Right.
Who really am I? But I think I had enough identity and confidence to get me through the adolescent years.
And I wonder if that, I think the circumstances surrounding your life played a really big role into that. Some of it could be individual people too, but I know that.
I know that individual people really helped me process a lot of things in that whole victim thing. and once I broke through that, most of the rest of, then last year and the year before that was a lot of depression and stuff. But
that's just
it's I don't know. I don't really consider. I do consider them issues. They're really big issues and they're hard to deal with. But it was more training rather than issues.
Oh, rather than needing healing, it was more like this is the training ground. That actually makes sense.
God allowed me to experience God allowed I do not like saying that God gave me this because I don't believe that He did. God only gives good gifts. But I do think that He allows things to happen. He allows the devil to, attack us or test us or whatever.
So He can use that.
And God uses it as trials and tests and training and all of that. So I think that the rest of that felt more like training than in need of healing. Last year, last fall, I would have had to process some things, and I'm pretty sure I needed some healing, but it was still training.
It's still training, even it wasn't like you needed a massive amount of healing before you could even start with the training. Okay, can't even have 2 hours to ourselves without
I know,
somebody
right?
trying to get a hold of us.
I know. Hey, it's fun being at work.
No kidding. No kidding.
Anyways, where were we at? You were talking.
I don't know what I was talking about. But what I was going to say is that how does connection and vulnerability and healing and like all this stuff, like how does it all tie together?
I think it's all very, very a big part of healing, especially.
See, you can't really heal if you don't have connection.
And you can't have connection if you're not vulnerable.
Right.
And connection to God is very vital to healing.
I agree with that.
And you have to be. I think that being vulnerable is the level that you're vulnerable at is the level that you connect at. I think that applies to yourself, to God, to your friends, to the people around you, like
Everything. Okay, so I was gonna ask a very important question and it escaped my mind. But when you are, where does trust come into being vulnerable and making a connection? Like, that's a whole nother, like, that's a whole thing.
That's a very tough question, because a lot of people are like, you have to trust the person first, you have to know that you can trust them.
Right.
And I agree to some degree, but sometimes you just have to make a choice. Because a lot of times, these people either have, if you don't trust them, it's either because they haven't proven themselves that you can trust them because you haven't really given them a chance,
Right.
or they've hurt you in the past.
Yeah.
Now, if they're currently hurting you and currently doing a lot of things that are whatever, then I understand if you're not trusting them, because trust is to be earned.
Right. I agree with that.
But sometimes people are earning your trust and you're still not trusting them.
That's the thing that I think I struggled with when we moved.
Because you're still holding things against them that are in the past.
Or maybe not even things against them, but
Things
similar
against
situations.
Yes. And so I think that yes, trust needs to be earned, but sometimes you have to just make a choice.
Right.
Especially if you know in your head that they are trustworthy, but your heart can't trust. That's especially when you have to make the choice.
That's kind of what I was thinking, is that some of it has to be earned, and some of it comes from knowing them and like meeting, like you meet them and you know them and you see how they react to a certain situation. But some of that is also, if you're secure in who you are and you trust them with a little bit of vulnerability and they treat it wrong, I don't think you have to be devastated by that.
You don't have to. And it's okay to try them out.
Yeah.
It is. And I think that for the most part, you somewhere, whether it's in your head or your heart or your stomach, your gut, you have a pretty good idea if they're trustworthy or not.
Right.
And if you don't know and you don't know if you know, it's okay to trust. It's okay to test them out. What?
I want to be with you.
You want to be with me? Okay, come. Welcome, Gabriel. It's okay to try them out, to have boundaries with how much you are vulnerable.
Right.
Because you don't want to just, share your deepest secret with a random stranger to test them out. Like, that's not even how connection works. Connection, yes, it's fine to go deep the first time, but there's also boundaries to that.
Right. And it doesn't, one of the things that I found out, basically because you told me it was okay, but also because it was kind of a process, is that it's okay if it's not as deep as okay, so I was used to a very deep, close connection in Texas. It's okay if that's not built in the first month when you move. Like, that's okay.
Relationships take time, and they take a lot of time. They do. But often, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that.
As hard as they are and complicated as they are, it's worth it. But yes, it's okay to not. It's it's okay to go deep the first time. It's okay to not go deep for the first time. It's basically what you're comfortable with testing them out on.
Right. And it because I don't think there's a right and a wrong in connection necessarily.
Exactly.
I mean, sure, there's right and wrong sides, but there's not a right
there's
and wrong.
right and wrong with things in relationships, but there's not a right or wrong way to connect.
Yes.